The latest archaeological discoveries that have shaken the world. Recent archaeological discoveries have opened new chapters in history, leaving the world stunned and reshaping our understanding of the past. From ancient ruins buried beneath the earth to secrets of lost civilizations, researchers are slowly uncovering untold stories. The artifacts, tools, and mummies found not only challenge traditional theories, but also shed light on many aspects of human development. Excavations in Egypt, the Middle East, and Mesoamerica have provided surprising evidence, sparking debates and new insights into ancient cultures. These discoveries not only raise questions about history, but also about how we view and understand ourselves. So, what have archaeologists uncovered in recent years? Let's explore in today's video. 7,000-year-old head mysteriously appears in the desert. The archaeological holy site of Nahal Himar in the Judean desert of southern Israel continues to reveal three perplexing artifacts, three intact skulls wrapped in tar. According to archaeologists, there are a total of 6 skulls in the Nahal Himar cave, but only 3 are coated in tar. Radiocarbon dating indicates that these skulls date back to 7000 BCE. The arid Judean desert has allowed organic materials to be exceptionally well preserved compared to most places in the world, resulting in all 6 skulls being in good condition, particularly the 3 wrapped in tar, as the tar layer serves as a protective barrier against the ravages of time. The Israel Antiquities Authority, IAA, describes how the skulls were wrapped in tar. It seems a thin layer of tar was smeared onto the backs of these skulls, after which strands of tar were applied on top, forming a mesh-like shape, possibly a cap for the deceased. Scientists believe this was a way to honor the dead, connected to ancestor worship. Individuals with tar-coated skulls were revered ancestors or particularly beloved members of the clan. It appears these individuals were venerated across generations, symbolizing the entire region. The skulls may also represent a family's claim to a territory, as the period around 7000 BCE saw a rise in population during the Neolithic era, leading to fierce land competition. Mysterious mummies of the desert. Not only in Egypt, but archaeologists have also discovered numerous mummies in the Atacama Desert of Chile. Interestingly, these mummies in Atacama are older than those in Egypt. Specifically, experts have found the mummies of the Chinchorro people who inhabited this desert region around 7000 BCE. By about 5000 BCE, the Chinchorro began the practice of mummification to preserve the bodies of the deceased. In fact, they practiced mummification approximately 2000 years before the Egyptians. Unlike the Egyptians, who only mummified those of high status, such as pharaohs and royalty, the Chinchorro preserved the remains of individuals from all social classes. There are 2 types of Chinchorro mummies, black and red. The black mummies refer to those whose bodies were disassembled and then reassembled into complete mummies, while red mummies are created by making a single incision to remove the internal organs and then mummifying the intact body. After the mummification process, both types of mummies were adorned with wigs and clay masks. The masks of the black mummies were painted with manganese, while those of the red mummies were painted with ochre. After thousands of years, the Chinchorro mummies still exist today, although they are no longer intact due to environmental and human impacts. Fossilized dinosaur couple, Romeo and Juliet. A recent study published in a scientific journal reported the discovery of dinosaur remains in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia. Notably, these dinosaurs died at the same time, 75 million years ago, after showing signs of courting each other. Drawing inspiration from the beautiful love story in Shakespeare's famous work, archaeologists have named this dinosaur couple Romeo and Juliet. Through research, paleontologist Scott Persons from the University of Alberta and his colleagues found evidence that one of the dinosaurs had a long feather on its tail. Additionally, although the 2 dinosaurs were of the same age, the tail of one was larger and had a different shape, leading experts to conclude that one was male and the other female. Scientists state that determining the sex of dinosaurs is very challenging. They must study them carefully since a typical dinosaur fossil does not provide direct evidence of male or female. Scott Persons hypothesized that the feather on Juliet's tail might have been a trick for courting Romeo. Notably, the analysis of the tail bones supports this theory. A high, flexible tail with an extended muscle system would allow the female dinosaur to showcase her beauty and express enjoyment through tail movements during courtship displays. Researchers believe that being buried beneath the thick layers of desert sand has helped preserve the fossils of this dinosaur couple in near-perfect condition. Experts continue to study them in hopes of uncovering more intriguing details about the era when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. The giant Aboriginal figure in the Australian desert. Recently, NASA released satellite images of a giant Aboriginal figure in the southern desert of Australia. The Maori figure is enormous, stretching over 3.5 kilometers from head to toe. In the image, the Maori figure appears to be holding a stick, possibly a boomerang. Located not far from the town of Mari, it is named the Maori Man and lies approximately 589 kilometers from the city of Adelaide. The figure was first spotted in 1998 by a pilot flying overhead. Over time, the figure has gradually faded. A Landsat 8 satellite image taken in 2013 shows the figure as barely visible, according to NASA. Following this, a restoration project took place over 5 days to preserve the figure. Coordinates and related information were used to redraw the giant figure. Workers then planted vegetation in the trenches with the hope that plants could grow in the desert, meaning that in the future, the Maori figure could turn green. Since its first appearance in 1998, experts have sought to explain the Maori figure. At the time of its discovery, the Maori figure consisted of trenches 30 centimeters deep and up to 35 meters wide. Investigators believe the figure could have been created by a bulldozer, which might have taken several weeks to complete. However, there were no witnesses who saw or heard anything beforehand. The area where the figure is located has only one access road, yet no footprints or tire tracks were found on the ground. In January 1999, Australian authorities discovered a small plaque buried near the tip of the Maori figure. This plaque featured an American flag with the Olympic rings and a quote from H. Finlayson's work, The Red Center. Several other strange artifacts were found in a small hole, including a small box containing the American flag and a note referencing the Branch Davidians, a religious group near Waco, Texas. An Australian businessman named Dick Smith pledged $5,000 for anyone who could decode the mystery. But to this day, no one knows who created the giant figure, remaining a significant enigma for humanity. The ancient fortress in the Gobi Desert. The ancient Yongtai fortress, built in the Gobi Desert in Gansu Province, northwest China, dates back to the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644. It is known as the Turtle Fortress or Turtle City due to its unique shape resembling this creature. Built to protect ethnic groups from the north, this military structure features 12 gun platforms and 4 gate towers along its walls. The Yongtai fortress is surrounded by a moat. Additionally, the military site has many beacon towers stretching for dozens of kilometers to the north and south. With such architecture, the Yongtai fortress has become a model of Chinese military engineering during feudal times. Li Chongren, a 70-year-old conservator who has worked at the Yongtai fortress for over 10 years, describes the 4 gate towers as resembling the 4 legs of a turtle. The roads, alleys, and houses mimic patterns found on a turtle's shell. According to him, the Yongtai fortress once housed 800 families, totaling about 2,000 people. Currently, only 78 households remain, as many have left due to drought and harsh weather conditions. Over the years and due to environmental factors, the ancient walls have begun to deteriorate, with some even cracking. As a result, authorities and experts are intensifying preservation and restoration efforts to ensure that the Yongtai fortress endures through time. The mysterious ghostly footprints. Recently, archaeologists stumbled upon ghostly footprints imprinted in the sand near Hill Air Force Base in the Great Salt Lake Desert, Utah. These footprints date back at least 10,000 years, when the area was still a vast wetland. These unusual ancient traces have attracted the attention of scientists for a very special reason. They only appear after it rains and gradually disappear as the surface dries in the sunlight. Initially, the research team found only a few footprints. However, after scanning the entire surrounding area with ground-penetrating radar, GPR, they discovered at least 88 individual footprints from both adults and children. The Great Salt Lake Desert was once covered by a large saline lake, similar to the lake of the same name, which is the largest in the Western Hemisphere. Over time, the lake dried up due to the climate changes Earth experienced at the end of the Ice Age. During this period, the lake was inhabited by humans, making it an ideal time for them to leave footprints on the surface. Darren Duke, the archaeologist leading the study, noted, "It seems that ancient people walked extensively here, on shallow waters where sand quickly filled their footprints, much like what we see on beaches. However, the footprints did not completely vanish. They were preserved by a layer of mud beneath the sand. Beneath the sand is a layer of mud that retains the impressions like ink on paper," Duke explained. To clarify why these ghostly footprints suddenly appear when it rains, Duke suggested that when raindrops fall, water quickly absorbs into the sediment below. This returns the ground to its original color, revealing the dark-colored footprints imprinted in the mud, standing out against the surrounding white sand. Using radiocarbon dating, researchers hope to analyze small remnants of organic material found in the sediment to uncover previously unknown characteristics of ancient humans. This new discovery could serve as an ancient journal, recording the entire process of human settlement in the area, providing important insights for archaeology. The Wonder Cave, the oldest human dwelling. At Wonderwork Cave, a renowned archaeological site in the Kalahari Desert of southern Africa, researchers from Israel and Canada announced the discovery of evidence that prehistoric inhabitants created stone tools nearly 2 million years ago. The research team analyzed sediment layers 2.5 meters thick containing stone tools, animal remains, and other traces of prehistoric life. They then measured the magnetic signals from the sediment samples. Their analysis indicated that some samples were magnetized to the south rather than the north, contrary to today's magnetic field direction. This finding helped establish the age of the sediment layers, along with information about their composition. According to archaeologists, the cave contains simple stone tools dating back 1.8 million years. They also found evidence that fires were lit in the cave over 1 million years ago. Although older stone tools have been discovered in various other locations in Africa, the discovery at Wonderwork Cave is unique, as the tools were made inside the cave, unlike those found in open-air sites. The evidence of fire in the cave is particularly significant, as similar traces of ash found outdoors could result from natural wildfires. Israeli media have called this cave the oldest dwelling in human history. Scientists refer to this discovery as a major step forward in understanding the pace of human evolution across the African continent. According to researchers, accurately dating this ancient dwelling will aid future studies on how early humans lived. The mysterious million-year-old structure. A unique geological formation known as the Eye of the Sahara has captured the attention of scientists and adventurers alike. This structure is an elliptical formation rising from the Sahara Desert in the western part of Mauritania, near the Ouaddaun region. The Eye of the Sahara has a diameter of about 40 kilometers and was formed from limestone layers that are approximately 100 million years old. This formation originated from sedimentary processes of an ancient lake and was later altered by a series of geological events, including fracturing and erosion. The first people to discover this structure were NASA astronauts during their space flights in the 1960s and 1970s. They captured images of the formation from space, bringing it to the attention of both the scientific community and the tourism industry. The geological structure of the Eye of the Sahara serves as a testament to the history of the land. Many hypotheses have been proposed regarding the formation of this beautiful structure. Some scientists speculate that the Eye of the Sahara is the result of volcanic sedimentation or a meteorite impact from millions of years ago. Others believe it could be remnants of the mysterious lost continent of Atlantis. However, to date, no definitive answers have been found regarding the origin of this unusual structure. Today, the Eye of the Sahara has become a popular tourist destination, attracting many visitors eager to explore the beauty of the Sahara Desert and immerse themselves in the captivating stories of its history and culture. However, protecting this structure is also crucial. Resource extraction and mining activities pose significant threats to the integrity of this geological formation. Therefore, scientists, governments, and local communities are working together to preserve and maintain its pristine condition for future generations to explore and learn from. The mysterious lake in the desert. A lake approximately 1 hectare in size and 18 meters deep has appeared in the arid desert region of Gafsa, Tunisia. Similar to the mysteries surrounding the appearance of craters in Siberia, the exact cause of this lake's formation remains unclear. It is believed to have emerged just a few months ago, possibly triggered by minor earthquakes affecting a natural aquifer, causing water to rise to the surface. However, the underlying aquifer has yet to be identified. According to The Independent, local residents began flocking to this lake a month ago, viewing it as a place to relax and escape the sweltering heat, with average temperatures around 40 degrees Celsius. Each day, about 600 people come to swim, dive, or kayak in the water. However, local authorities have warned that the water is starting to change from blue to dark green and has begun to develop algae, suggesting it could contain carcinogenic substances. Some experts have even raised concerns that the water may be radioactive due to the influence of a nearby phosphate mine. 300 mummies at the Ear of Hell. Located in southeastern Xinjiang, Lop Nur was once China's second-largest saltwater lake. However, it has completely dried up over the past 1,500 years, merging into the Gobi Desert. Satellite images reveal that Lop Nur has a shape resembling a human ear, and its shores can even change shape, which is why it has been dubbed the Ear of Hell. Since ancient times, people have hoped to find treasures, legendary riches of the Lulan Kingdom, at Lop Nur. It wouldn't be surprising to discover human skeletons there, as the area has become a black hole for those who enter. They never return. In 2005, a group of explorers decided to investigate and accidentally uncovered 300 mysterious mummies. After DNA testing, archaeologists determined that these mummies date back to the 15th century BCE, during the Xia Dynasty. Experts believe the large number of remains found at Lop Nur may be linked to a mass slaughter of slaves by the ancient Xia Empire. It is likely that ancient people conducted some ritual activities, leading to the accumulation of numerous corpses in this area. This is also supported by the Shanhai Jing, which records that due to complex governance, the Xia dynasty continually expanded its territory and frequently engaged in warfare. Thus, these mummies are likely the remains of those who died in these conflicts. The mummies at Lop Nur serve as evidence of the existence of the Xia dynasty. Lop Nur welcomes any visitors with its eerie desolation, featuring summer temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius and winter lows below 20 degrees Celsius. Annual rainfall is a meager 20 mm, and strong winds are a constant presence. For over 2 months each year, winds can reach force 8, blowing sand and stones in every direction, making it difficult to see the sky, let alone other people. Even camels, known as the ships of the desert, struggle to survive here. In 1980, scientist Peng Jiamu and his expedition team visited Lop Nur for research and have been missing ever since. The giant train cemetery in the desert. When visiting Uyuni, most people choose to explore the famous salt flats of Bolivia and the surreal landscape surrounding them. However, few are aware of the Concretierio de Trenes, a giant train cemetery that is equally captivating and located on the outskirts of town. This open-air museum features abandoned, rusty relics that possess a haunting, desolate beauty. In the 19th century, many engineers from Britain and local workers came to the town to build a railway connecting mineral mines to the city of La Paz, Bolivia, and the ports of Chile. The Antofagasta and Bolivian Railway Company constructed an extensive network of railroads, transforming the quiet town of Uyuni into an important transportation hub. As part of the industrialization of Uyuni, the train factory produced many items that you can still see today. Most of the hollow train carcasses here were made in the early 20th century. By the 1940s, mining activities had severely declined as resources began to deplete. The railway company ceased operations and abandoned the train carcasses in the desert. Dozens of rusting trains lie scattered throughout the area, with some metal scraps being repurposed. Meanwhile, the remaining derelict locomotives are covered in graffiti by local youth. The train cemetery, along with the endless salt flats in Bolivia, is a common stop on many tours. In various climates, these century-old machines have remained relatively intact. However, in Uyuni, harsh winds carrying salt from the nearby flats significantly accelerate metal corrosion, making many machines appear as though they have weathered centuries. The 4,000-year-old princess mummy still exudes charm. The Xinjiang Autonomous Region of China is part of the Silk Road, where Eastern and Western cultures intersect. For centuries, this area has served as a bridge between Asian and European civilizations. Over the years, archaeologists have discovered hundreds of naturally preserved mummies, thanks to the dry desert air. What has been preserved for thousands of years continues to astonish the archaeological community. One of the most studied sites is the Shaohe Cemetery. This area first came to global attention in 1934 when Swedish archaeologist Bergman ventured to Lop Nur, Xinjiang, for an investigation. After days of searching, Bergman discovered the mysterious cemetery filled with numerous coffins. However, no significant excavation occurred afterward, and the Shaohe Cemetery sank back into the desert sands. It wasn't until 2000 that archaeologists from the Xinjiang Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology began a search in the Lop Nur Desert. With the help of satellite positioning systems, they rediscovered this buried cemetery. In 2003, archaeologists officially launched a comprehensive excavation at Shaohe, revealing secrets hidden for 4,000 years. The cemetery is quite large, and scientists estimate it dates back approximately 3,500 to 4,000 years, corresponding to the Xia and Shang dynasties. A total of 167 graves were unearthed, the most famous being that of the Xinjiang princess, also known as the Shaohe princess. When her tomb was excavated, all the archaeologists were stunned by the incredible preservation of the mummy. She wore a white cap, and her hair was carefully maintained. Her face showed no signs of damage, with deep eye sockets, long thick eyelashes, and a high nose. The beauty of this princess appeared intact, with even the contours of her painted lips still visible, as if she were smiling. Around her neck was a red cord necklace adorned with beads, and her hands wore a tubular jade bracelet. Her body was wrapped in a large white woolen cloak, draped from right to left, with 2 wooden pins and 2 short red willow sticks on the right side of the cloak. Remarkably, this princess also wore a pair of leather boots. After the archaeologists opened the cloak, they discovered that the body of the Shaohe princess was covered in a white substance, believed to be a compound made from dairy products, which helped preserve her remains. The coffin containing the mummy was boat-shaped, tightly wrapped in cowhide, and buried deep under the sand. Inside the coffin, a small amount of cheese was found, likely preserved due to the dry and hot climate of the desert. Experts speculate that this could have been food placed with the deceased, suggesting a belief in reincarnation at that time. Based on what was gathered from the tomb, scientists believe the owner of the mummy was a beautiful person of high status in society, which is why they named her the Shaohe princess to connect her with the site. Further analysis, including DNA testing, revealed that this princess was a blend of both Asian and European ancestry, surprising many. Archaeologists have since used graphic software to restore her appearance, creating a portrait that captivates viewers with its modern beauty. However, many believe that when she was alive, she might have been even more beautiful than the portrayal suggests. The 600-year-old unspoiled body. In the 1980s, while tending to crops in Hunan Province, China, locals accidentally discovered an ancient tomb. This finding quickly drew attention, and a team of archaeologists was soon called to the scene. As they began excavation, the results astonished them. 2 bodies were buried together, but while one had completely decomposed, the other remained remarkably intact. With the help of laboratory analysis, the archaeologists determined that the 2 bodies belonged to a couple from the Yuan Dynasty, approximately 600 years ago. However, the mystery arose as to how the husband's body could be so well preserved. To answer this question, a study was conducted, revealing that ancient methods involved injecting large amounts of heavy metals into the body to prevent decomposition. This technique not only showcased the ingenuity of the ancients, but also reflected their understanding of preservation methods, allowing them to transition into the afterlife intact. Ancient Chinese culture believed that death was not an end, but a transition to another life. Therefore, they employed various techniques to preserve bodies, ensuring that the deceased could continue to exist in the spirit world. In addition to heavy metal injections, archaeologists discovered that other preservation methods included using disinfectants and even a cooling technique involving submerging the body in ice to prevent bacterial growth and prolong the integrity of the remains. This discovery not only provides insight into ancient burial practices, but also expands our understanding of body preservation techniques in Chinese history, a place considered the cradle of ancient civilization. The Millennia Old Body of Master Huineng. According to folklore, enlightened monks whose bodies do not decompose after death are referred to as bodhisattva bodies. Master Huineng, a prominent figure from the Tang Dynasty, is considered the first such bodhisattva body recorded in Chinese history and is still venerated at Nanhua Temple in Shaoguan, Guangdong Province, China. It is said that when he was born in 640, 2 monks named him Huineng. His father passed away early, so as he grew up, Huineng had to sell firewood to support his mother. One day, while selling firewood in the street, he overheard someone reciting the Diamond Sutra. Despite not having any formal education and being illiterate, he understood its meaning. Recognizing his connection to Buddhism, Huineng bid farewell to his mother and embarked on a challenging path of spiritual cultivation. In 713, after becoming the 6th patriarch, Huineng gathered his disciples to say his final goodbyes before ascending to heaven. At that moment, a fragrant aroma filled the temple, a radiant light appeared, and the trees turned white, while the animals cried out mournfully. Since then, for over 1,000 years, he has remained seated as he was at the time of his passing. Despite the hot and humid climate of Guangdong, Master Huineng's physical body has not decomposed or withered. Instead, it appears vibrant, calm, and serene. This phenomenon has left scientists baffled. Even during the Cultural Revolution, the Red Guards sought to eradicate all vestiges of traditional values, culture, and ancient beliefs in China. They used sledgehammers to destroy temples and churches, including creating a small hole in the chest of Master Huineng's body to see if it was artificially constructed. However, they found that his internal organs were still intact, leaving them terrified and immediately begging for mercy. Truly, the teachings of Buddhism are remarkable, aren't they? The corpse of a Qing dynasty zombie. In 2005, a shocking discovery occurred in the Nanchang area of Sichuan province when archaeologists unearthed 2 unique stone coffins. While one coffin had been opened, revealing an intact corpse along with burial objects, the other had been robbed, leaving only traces of mysterious tampering. Notably, both coffins were made of stone, a stark contrast to the wooden coffins typically used during that period, marking this as the first stone coffin discovery in Sichuan. Upon examination, archaeologists were astonished to find the corpse in the first coffin remarkably well preserved, despite being over 100 years old. The internal organs remained intact, the skin retained elasticity, and hair had not decomposed. Most peculiarly, the body was tightly wrapped in cloth, as if bound to prevent movement. Surrounding the corpse was a thick layer of glutinous rice, with a yellow talisman affixed to its forehead, evoking images of the Jiangshi, hopping vampire, often depicted in popular media. This discovery not only astonished researchers, but also raised profound questions about the culture and beliefs of ancient people. Elements such as the wrapping, rice covering, and talisman suggest a belief system related to protecting the soul or the concept of reincarnation. At that time, this corpse was likened to a treasure, akin to the ancient Egyptian mummies, contributing to a deeper understanding of the mysterious customs of ancient cultures. Could this be a remnant of a lost civilization, or merely a part of yet-to-be-explored thrilling tales? If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments below. The eternal flame of the Qin Dynasty. Qin Shi Huang was the emperor who founded the Qin Dynasty, the first unified dynasty in Chinese history. He strongly believed in an eternal life after death, so he meticulously prepared for his existence in the afterlife. From the moment he ascended to the throne, he began constructing his tomb in 246 BC. According to historical records, the construction of Qin Shi Huang's tomb took 38 years, employing over 700,000 workers and skilled craftsmen. The tomb of this powerful emperor is famous for its many inexplicable mysteries, such as the 8,000 headless terracotta warriors and the toxic Mercury River. However, that is not all. Inside the tomb, there are lamps known as eternal lights. When discovered, archaeologists were astonished to find that these lamps continued to burn brightly, as if they had never extinguished over the millennia, despite being in a dark, damp environment underground for thousands of years. These radiant lamps were said to guard the emperor's eternal slumber. Initially, they were considered mere legends with no basis in reality, but over time, numerous pieces of evidence have emerged indicating that this everlasting light does exist. Their presence in ancient tombs adds a mystical and spiritual dimension to them. A long-standing hypothesis suggests that these everlasting lamps were fueled by a special substance, whale oil, rather than conventional wax candles. Ancient Chinese texts indicate that whale oil was used for lighting due to its remarkable durability. Additionally, the lamps were designed in such a way that the flowing whale oil would drip back into a reservoir, allowing for endless reuse. If we say that this discovery highlights one of the most significant aspects of ancient civilization, the desire for immortality and the aspiration for eternal life after death, it would not be an exaggeration. The 4,100-year-old mass grave. In northeast China, near Heilongjiang Province, a shocking archaeological discovery captured researchers' attention in the 1990s. This mass grave, estimated to be around 4,100 years old, is located within the Honghe Archaeological Site. Here, archaeologists unearthed dozens of skeletal remains of women and children, notably all of whom were decapitated. This unprecedented finding sent chills through many observers. Theories regarding this brutality emerged immediately. Some researchers suggested it might signify a religious ritual, while others speculated it reflected a conflict between tribes during the Neolithic period. Of the 68 skeletons discovered, 41 were missing their heads, and although some skulls were found nearby, the majority of the skeletons lacked heads. Current analysis indicates that these remains primarily belonged to women and children, likely victims of an attack from a rival tribe. Some theories propose that this tribe was assaulted while the men were away from the camp. Notably, 32 skeletons in the mass grave showed signs of brutal torture, suggesting they were killed during a raid. It's likely that after the attack, the men buried the victims in separate niches before permanently leaving the area. This discovery has not only intrigued anthropologists, but also raised questions about violence among ancient tribes. Some hypotheses suggest that decapitation may have been related to religious rituals, where the victors aimed to absorb the enemy's soul to gain power. The Honghe tribe, around 4,100 years ago, was believed to be a community of hunter-fishers with defensive structures surrounding their settlement. Ongoing research aims to clarify the true cause of this brutality, though many theories remain speculative. Nevertheless, the discovery of this mass grave serves as a chilling reminder of the mysteries and fears that haunt humanity's past. 150 Ancient Tombs Beneath the Zoo. In 1956, when a zoo was built in Guangdong Province, no one could have imagined that this event would open a new chapter for archaeology in China. Over the decades of research, archaeologists have discovered approximately 500 ancient tombs in the area, providing valuable insights into the country's rich cultural history. In early 2024, the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology conducted excavations, uncovering 148 tombs from the Han, Tang, Jin, Southern Song, and Ming dynasties. Each tomb carries its own story through time. Archaeologists have unearthed nearly 200 artifacts, ranging from exquisite jade objects to intricately designed ceramics, highlighting the evolution of burial customs and beliefs of ancient peoples. With an excavation area spanning 300 square meters, this project not only holds archaeological significance, but also paints a vivid picture of the region's culture and history. Notably, one of the most prominent tombs, dating back over 1,700 years to the Eastern Jin period, measures nearly 10 meters long and is remarkably well preserved, despite a small hole caused by tomb raiders. This tomb is considered the largest and best preserved from the Eastern Jin period, discovered in Guangzhou. Additionally, another tomb from the southern dynasties, although previously disturbed, still retains many valuable artifacts. This discovery holds great significance for studying burial customs and funeral practices of ancient Guangzhou. Cheng Hao, a researcher from the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology, stated, "This finding is also important for researching architectural construction techniques from the Jin and Southern dynasties." Researchers are currently working to understand the burial traditions and social structures of ancient China, hoping to uncover new information about burial practices across different dynasties. Furthermore, the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology has developed public tours, allowing people to experience and learn about this valuable cultural heritage. If you have the chance, be sure to visit and explore. The world's oldest pants. In May 2020, A remarkable discovery occurred in the arid desert region of the western Tarim Basin, China, when archaeologists unearthed an ancient pair of pants that had been buried for about 3,000 years. This desert is renowned for its harsh climate and unusual natural mummies, leading to a rare and valuable discovery of ancient textile techniques. The pants found in the Yanghai Cemetery are one of the few examples of nearly intact ancient clothing. Archaeologists, including Maike Wagner from the German Archaeological Institute in Berlin, studied these pants and determined they belonged to a man known as the Turfan Man. Along with around 500 other skeletons excavated from the cemetery, this find plays a crucial role in researching ancient cultures in the region. The pants feature a long tubular design made from twill fabric complex, an advanced weaving technique for that time. There are no cuts on the fabric, indicating that the pants were woven to fit the wearer. Experts believe that this twill technique was performed using a loom, creating parallel diagonal patterns, significant achievement in ancient textile production. This discovery illustrates the progress and creativity in fabric technology of ancient civilizations. In addition to the pants, the grave of the Turfan Man contained many other artifacts, including a belted cloak, braided straps to secure the pants below the knees, soft leather boots reaching the ankles, a woolen headband adorned with copper and shell, leather reins, and an axe. These items suggest that the grave's owner was a mounted warrior, highlighting the role and importance of warriors in ancient society. Experts assert that the pants are not only evidence of advanced weaving techniques, but also reflect cultural exchanges between different civilizations across the Eurasian region. The clever combination of weaving and decorative techniques demonstrates the influences and cultural interactions from various areas, proving that sewing and weaving methods were developed and spread widely thousands of years ago. This discovery not only helps us understand ancient clothing better, but also opens the door to exploring the rich cultures that existed in the past. 2,000-year-old sword. Recently, a groundbreaking archaeological discovery was made in Henan Province, China, where archaeologists unearthed a bronze sword from a 2,000-year-old tomb. However, not all the tombs retained their integrity. Most had been looted, leaving only 5 sites intact. In addition to the rare sword, archaeologists also discovered numerous ceramics, including bowls, plates, and jars, along with other bronze artifacts such as 2 spears and a dagger. These findings not only showcase the exquisite craftsmanship of ancient peoples, but also provide a glimpse into the culture and burial customs of that era. The sword is believed to belong to the occupant of the tomb and was buried with them at the time of their death. However, the identity and status of this individual remain a mystery. The excavation of the burial site, along with its accompanying artifacts, will provide valuable evidence for the study of cultural practices and burial customs in China during the Warring States and Eastern Han periods. Notably, this bronze sword highlights a significant archaeological heritage, as the oldest bronze object ever found in China is a sword dating back approximately 5,000 years, excavated from the Majiayao culture in Gansu Province. Discoveries like this help researchers gain a deeper understanding of Chinese history and culture, while also opening up opportunities for exploration enthusiasts and history lovers to uncover the mysteries of the past. The 2,000-year-old Sleeping Beauty Mum. In 2018, as the water levels of the massive reservoir on the Yenisei River dropped, a team of archaeologists from the St. Petersburg Institute of Material Culture History made a remarkable discovery: the mummy of an ancient woman, referred to as the Sleeping Beauty. This is not just an ordinary mummy. It is a historical treasure that reveals mysteries about the life of a woman nearly 2,000 years ago. According to Ms. Kilunovskaya, an archaeological expert, this tomb dates back to the 1st century and had been submerged since the 1980s when the reservoir was created. Initially, scientists estimated that the mummy had been buried approximately 1,900 to 2,000 years ago. Notably, despite being submerged underwater for decades, the mummy has been impressively preserved, thanks to a natural embalming process. During the excavation, the research team discovered that the tomb was sealed with stones, containing the remains of a young woman inside. The lower part of the mummy is remarkably preserved, providing a realistic view of the living conditions and the death of this woman. According to experts, this mummy is unlike the classical mummies we are typically familiar with. It is the result of a unique natural process. Notably, inside the tomb, Archaeologists also discovered several valuable objects, including a Chinese-style mirror in a makeup box, a jewel encrusted on the belt of the dress, and two Hungarian-style vases containing offerings intended for the deceased to take to the afterlife. These artifacts not only showcase aesthetic beauty, but also reflect the culture and beliefs of that time. Experts have analyzed and concluded that the Sleeping Beauty may have been a woman from a nomadic Hungarian community, with clear details indicating that she could have been an important figure in society, possibly a noble or a member of the Hungarian Empire that existed from the mid-4th to the 6th century AD. The accompanying artifacts, including a meal and bags of pine nuts, further support this hypothesis. The discovery of the Sleeping Beauty mummy is not just a simple archaeological find. It is a vivid story about the culture, beliefs, and lives of people who lived thousands of years ago. With its excellent state of preservation, including soft tissues, clothing, and belongings, this is truly a valuable opportunity to explore a history we could only dream of. The mystery of the horned human skull. The story of the mysterious horned human skull found in Sayre, Bradford County, Pennsylvania, in the 1880s remains one of the most controversial legends in archaeology and history. Since the discovery of the skull with two horns protruding from its forehead, many questions have arisen, sparking human imagination with strange and thrilling theories. The skull, believed to belong to a giant over 6 feet tall, was buried from the 13th century. The presence of the horns led to various hypotheses. Researchers suggested that the horns could symbolize power and wisdom. In many cultures, horns are seen as prominent features of sorcerers and leaders, representing strength and authority. But whether this individual was a significant figure in the ancient community remains unknown. In addition to the strange skull, a large tomb was discovered nearby, indicating that a substantial research community once existed in the area. This further enhances the archaeological value of the find and opens up new possibilities regarding lost civilizations. However, a tragedy occurred. The skull was stolen before scientists could thoroughly study it, complicating the mysteries surrounding it even further. As time passed, rumors and theories surrounding this horned skull continued to evolve. Some believe it could be evidence of a species or creature unknown to us. Numerous conspiracy theories emerged, ranging from the idea that the skull belonged to an extinct ancient race to speculations about the intervention of extraterrestrial civilizations. Although the information about this horned skull has become part of local folklore, the story continues to captivate history and archaeology enthusiasts. The image of a giant with the peculiar skull, who may have once roamed this land, offers us a different perspective on the past, a time when humanity and the mysteries of nature intertwined in vibrant legends. We may never uncover the truth about this skull, but stories like these make the ancient past come alive and more intriguing than ever. Witches' bones, 1,400 years old. In the sacred land of Rollright Stones in Warwickshire, England, an archaeological discovery has caused a stir not only in research circles but also among history enthusiasts. Charles Wood, a metal-detecting explorer, accidentally uncovered the ancient skeleton identified as that of a Saxon woman, dating back approximately 1,400 years. The Saxons, an alliance of ancient Germanic tribes, arrived in England in the 5th century, settling and creating a rich cultural heritage. Situated near the mystical monuments of Rollright Stones, which were once rumored to be the result of a witch transforming a king and his knights into stone, this discovery adds to the area's allure. The skeleton has been named Rita, and as archaeologists studied it, they found alongside the remains an ancient religious artifact resembling a primitive spoon, known as a patera. This patera is not just an ordinary object. It serves as evidence of the cultural connections between civilizations in the past. In addition to the patera, a substantial quantity of amber and amethyst beads was also found in the grave, along with a large spinning whorl. These findings suggest that this woman may have held an important position in Saxon society, possibly even being a powerful figure in her community around the 7th century AD. This not only affirms the role of women in Saxon society, but also sheds light on their rich religious and cultural rituals. As Rita's skeleton is brought to the British Museum in London for further examination, archaeologists hope to extract new information from the accompanying artifacts. Meanwhile, the patera has been analyzed and found to be a religious item used by early Roman soldiers, clearly indicating cultural interaction among different peoples in the region. The story of Rita and the discoveries at Rollright Stones can be seen as a new chapter in the history of the Saxons and serves as a reminder of the connections between the past and the present. With each excavation and each artifact uncovered, it feels like a strike against the veil of historical mystery, compelling us to continue searching, discovering, and learning about what once existed. Millions of mummies unearthed in the desert. Recently, a group of scientists has stirred the archaeological community with the discovery of a massive cemetery named Fag el Gamis, located in the heart of the Fayum Desert, about 100 kilometers south of Cairo. This cemetery is not just a burial site, it is a treasure trove containing millions of mummies, each one a piece of the puzzle revealing the life and culture of the Egyptians from the 1st to the 7th century, a period during which the Roman Empire occupied this land. What makes Fag el Gamis unique is that the mummies found here primarily belong to common people, rather than kings or nobles like those in other famous burial sites. These individuals were buried in simple ways, wrapped in cloth, and placed directly in the ground without any intervention from embalming techniques or elaborate coffins. This difference reflects society's perspective on death and highlights the simplicity of the lives of ordinary people in ancient Egypt. The area surrounding the cemetery was once a fertile land, home to large cities and ancient pyramids built thousands of years ago. Currently, archaeologists have excavated around 1,700 mummies and estimate that it will take at least another 30 years to complete this work. Each mummy carries an untold story, and deciphering them presents a significant but promising challenge for researchers. One of the wonders at Fag el Gamis is that the mummies have been naturally preserved due to the arid climate of the desert. Many mummies have also been found accompanied by artifacts, jewelry, and glass items, likely possessions buried with the deceased. Notably, among the mummies is a girl about 18 months old, carefully wrapped in linen and adorned with sparkling jewelry. This image is not only beautiful, but also evokes a profound sense of love and care from the family for the departed. Even more intriguing, some mummies are larger than average, including one mummy that stands about 2 meters tall. This has led researchers to question whether these individuals could belong to a group of people with a distinctive size. The presence of such impressively tall individuals adds to the curiosity and intrigue surrounding the society of this era. Deciphering the Fag el Gamis cemetery is not only a challenging task, but also provides valuable insights into the life and culture of ancient Egyptians. Through these new discoveries, we have the opportunity to gain a more comprehensive understanding of one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Mysteries still remain, but the untold stories of Fag el Gamis will continue to captivate future generations, opening doors to explore profound and rich cultural values. The ancient tomb of the Dark Warrior. During the renovation and expansion of an ancient cemetery in Vinkovci, eastern Croatia, workers accidentally discovered two unusual graves. Faced with these strange stone structures, they had to stop and refrain from touching them until archaeologists were called in. These graves were later identified as belonging to Avar warriors, a force that once spread terror across Eastern Europe during the early Middle Ages, only to mysteriously vanish from history. The Avar warriors are an important part of Eastern European history, but so far, evidence of their existence has been incredibly scarce. This discovery has opened a new door for research into this legendary army. Inside the two graves, nearly complete skeletons of adult men were found, vividly depicting the image of strong warriors who once rode on horseback. Notably, in one of the graves, archaeologists also discovered a bronze belt buckle dating from around the 600 to 800 AD. According to archaeologist Anita Rapan Papasha, despite many legends about the Avars in the region, their burial sites have never been discovered before. This may be due to the unique construction of these two graves. they were designed similarly to Roman tombs, making them easily mistaken for something else without a thorough examination of the remains and accompanying artifacts inside. Even more remarkably, the two warriors were buried alongside their horses. This practice reflects part of the Avar's beliefs and customs, showcasing the strong bond between humans and horses in their lives. Upon closer inspection, one of the warriors had been disturbed by grave robbers, but curiously, the robbers left the horses untouched, which were also equipped with valuable accessories for burial. The Avars and their Pannonian Empire became a nightmare for many empires, including the famous Byzantine Empire. With their exceptional archery skills, they asserted their power and authority in the region. However, continuous warfare led to their decline in the 7th century AD when they faced the Bulgarians. This discovery is not only a significant milestone in the study of the Avars, but also a powerful message about the importance of preserving the cultural and historical heritage of this land. The mysteries surrounding them are still waiting to be uncovered, and the two graves in Vinkovci serve as a key to a new chapter in the story of one of history's legendary armies. The Millennia Old Mummy with intact hair. During the excavation of the Huaca Pucllana archaeological site in Lima, Peru, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery: a well-preserved mummy that is over 1,000 years old. This mummy was found atop a clay pyramid standing more than 21 meters high, providing valuable insight into the culture of the indigenous people of central Peru. This finding is not only an archaeological milestone, but also marks a revival of the field of archaeology in today's busy context. According to researchers, the mummy was located within a tomb at Huaca Pucllana, a monument that served as a center for rituals and beliefs of the Lima culture. Remarkably, this mummy shows signs of an adult, with intact brown hair and minimally altered teeth, presenting a rare opportunity to explore and gain deeper understanding of the lives of the ancient inhabitants who lived here thousands of years ago. In addition to the mummy, the tomb housed many other valuable artifacts, such as ceramic vessels and intricately woven textiles. These items are not merely objects. They serve as a bridge between the present and the past, offering insights into the customs, traditions, and artistry of the people who once lived along the coast of Peru. Archaeologists believe the mummy may date back to the Ixma period, a community known for its pyramid construction that dominated the area before the rise of the Inca Empire. This discovery is not just a significant milestone in historical research, but also a valuable source of information that helps reconstruct Peru's rich past. Huaca Pucllana, with its long-standing presence, acts as a historical witness, continuously revealing untold secrets. Each new finding here enriches the narrative of human evolution and societal development in this land, regarded as the heart of Inca culture. Hundreds of archaeological sites in Lima are tirelessly working to provide deeper insights into Peru's ancient civilization. Thanks to the dedication of archaeologists, each mummy and each artifact opens a new chapter in the history book, allowing us to come closer to the lives, beliefs, and artistry of our ancestors. The discovery at Huaca Pucllana not only advances our understanding of the past, but also serves as a powerful reminder of the value and strength of the cultural heritage we must preserve for future generations. The Rainbow Valley Cemetery. According to a shocking statistic from the BBC, Mount Everest is considered one of the largest graveyards in the natural world, with an estimated 200 people having lost their lives there. Most of them remain on this snowy peak to this day. Known by the nickname the Death Zone, this area sits at an altitude of over 8,000 meters. The oxygen levels are so thin that no life can survive, and anyone who steps foot here will experience a sensation as if their entire body and mind are approaching a state of shutdown, just moments before inevitable death. In addition to the Death Zone, there is another area with a memorable name, Rainbow Valley. At first glance, this may sound romantic, but the name actually comes from the numerous bodies dressed in colorful protective gear and climbing equipment, causing the mountainside to glow remarkably. Located within the Death Zone, Rainbow Valley stretches across the northern slope of Everest. Rescue operations and the retrieval of bodies here are fraught with difficulties due to the extremely low temperatures, which cause the corpses to freeze and cling tightly to the snow-covered ground. Recognizing the danger and high costs involved, many rescue teams have opted to give up, turning this place into one of the most infamous and haunting landmarks on Mount Everest. The corpse, known as Green Boots. Among the many bodies that remain on Mount Everest, a few have captured the attention of climbing enthusiasts. One of these is the body of a tragic climber nicknamed Green Boots. This name comes from the neon green boots that still remain intact on the man's feet. For many years, Green Boots has been an image etched in the memories of every visitor climbing to the summit, serving as a reminder of the preciousness of life. Almost everyone will pass by this location before taking a rest in a nearby cave. It is believed that this man may be Sawang Paljor, an Indian climber who died in a snowstorm in 1996. Paljor's family has been deeply troubled by the curses and baseless stories circulated around his body. However, by May 2014, no one could accurately locate Paljor's position anymore, despite the extreme difficulty of moving a body at an altitude of over 8,000 meters. The giant piles of waste on Everest. Imagine you've spent half a day climbing on Mount Everest, and suddenly you are struck with a stomachache. With the surrounding area becoming extremely barren, filled with dirt, rocks, snow, and melting ice, not to mention other climbers, the only thing you can do is dig a hole to relieve yourself comfortably. Naturally, as the number of explorers on Everest continues to rise, the reality of this roof of the world turning into a gigantic toilet is becoming increasingly stark. According to a report by the Washington Post, the estimated amount of human biological waste on Everest each year reaches a staggering 2,600 pounds, over 12 tons. And this number will only continue to increase as people persistently attempt to conquer this peak year after year. Piles of waste accumulate and pile up, causing water pollution downstream due to erosion and melting snow. The situation has become serious enough that the president of the Nepal Mountaineering Association issued a warning to tourists about this issue back in 2015. Yet to this day, little has changed. The footprints of the Yeti. This is perhaps the most prominent feature that anyone associates with the majestic Mount Everest. The legend of the Yeti, also known as the Abominable Snowman in Himalayan folklore, has long been a hot topic of discussion in the scientific community. It's worth noting that the concept of the Yeti officially emerged in 1951 when climber Eric Shipton accidentally photographed a massive footprint of strange shape, which he believed to be that of the Yeti. Since then, many other discoveries have occurred, including Edmund Hillary's claim of seeing giant hairy figures moving at an altitude of about 800 meters on Everest. In 1960, a piece of scalp was discovered in the home of a Nepalese woman, believed to belong to the Yeti, but it was later declared to be a hoax and kept at a nearby monastery. While science has yet to definitively prove the existence of the Yeti, researchers have come close to debunking the idea that it is a real human species. In 2017, a study was conducted on DNA samples thought to be collected from the Yeti or a similar creature. The results indicated that the DNA belonged to a local bear species. Nevertheless, the legend of the Yeti continues to spread, and it may be a long time before the truth about this colossal, half-man, half-bear creature is revealed. Puja Ceremony, seeking permission from the mountain gods. In Tibetan Buddhist culture, Everest is called Chomolungma, meaning goddess of the mountain. Thus, the peak is viewed as a sacred place, requiring all climbers to seek permission and ensure safe passage before stepping onto the mountain. This occurs during a puja ceremony, traditionally held at base camp before the ascent begins. The puja is performed by a Buddhist lama or several monks. During the ceremony, they ask for good fortune and protection as climbers prepare for their journey. They also bless the team's climbing equipment, including ice axes, crampons, and harnesses. This is a crucial step that must be completed before starting the expedition. Failing to perform this ritual means you cannot conquer Everest, and it is a tradition that has been in place for hundreds of years, welcoming foreign climbers to participate. Sherpas, the unsung heroes of the Himalayas. Sherpas also play the vital role of guides, setting up ropes on snowy peaks. No Everest expedition would be complete without Sherpas. However, they remain silent heroes, earning wages as laborers while supporting climbers from behind the scenes. Notably, two Sherpas, Appa Sherpa and Furba Tashi, currently hold the world record for the most ascents of Everest, with a total of 21 successful climbs without any serious incidents. A study conducted by the US in 1976 found that Sherpas in Nepal have undergone genetic changes to adapt to life at high altitudes, having lived in one of the highest regions in the world for thousands of years. However, Sherpas are not superhuman. They can also suffer from altitude sickness like anyone else. Many Sherpas have tragically lost their lives alongside climbers pursuing their dreams of standing on top of the world. For instance, in April 2014, an avalanche claimed the lives of 16 Sherpas who were guiding climbers on Everest. This rare and terrifying event did not shake the resolve and determination of these guides. The open-air dump on Everest. No one can accurately determine the amount of waste scattered across the summit of Everest. However, as of now, a total of 16 tons of trash has been collected, according to BBC statistics, making it clear that Everest is often likened to an open-air landfill that remains difficult to close. The waste comes in many forms, from tattered tents and climbing gear to food wrappers, beverage bottles, and even oxygen tanks. Additionally, at altitudes exceeding 8,000 meters, organizing large-scale waste collection becomes exceptionally challenging compared to ground level, with around 300 tourists and local guides visiting each year, bringing the total number of people who have stepped on Everest to approximately 4,000. Maintaining the natural beauty of this mountain is truly a daunting task. Yet this reality does not lessen our astonishment at the sheer amount of trash left behind on those snow-covered peaks. The risk of Everest becoming the largest dump in the world is increasingly real. In response to this looming threat, numerous measures have been proposed to curb the littering habits of visitors. Notably, in 2012, a group of artists sought to promote environmental awareness by arranging 1.5 tons of waste on Everest into a true work of art. By 2014, each climber ascending Everest was required to commit to carrying down at least 8 kilograms of waste. Failure to do so would result in the forfeiture of a $4,000 deposit. While this may seem unreasonable given the challenges of moving in such an environment, it is a reality that must be accepted if we wish to protect this towering peak. The summit of Everest may still be rising. How high exactly is Mount Everest? China reports that it stands at 8,044 meters, while Nepal claims it reaches 8,048 meters. The Chinese side argues that the mountain should be measured from the precise height of the rock layer at the summit, excluding the thick layer of snow on top. Although it's unclear which side is more accurate, the international community generally includes the snow cover in its calculations. In 2010, the two countries agreed that the official height of the world's highest peak is 8,848 meters. However, a research group studying Everest suggests that both figures provided by Nepal and China could be entirely incorrect. In 1994, they discovered that the summit is still growing, rising at a rate of 4 millimeters per year. The Indian subcontinent was originally an independent landmass that collided with Asia to form the Himalayas, and the tectonic plates are still shifting, pushing the mountain higher. Notably, researchers from AME installed a GPS device at the peak in 1999 to measure its growth rate. The results indicated that the actual height of the mountain had reached approximately 8,850 meters, and this number is on the rise. It's very likely that in the future, this mountain will surpass our wildest expectations. Many paths to explore Everest. Historically, many have thought that there is only one route to the summit of Everest, but few realize that today, we can approach Everest from two directions, Tibet or Nepal. For regular tourists, there are trails leading directly to Everest Base Camp. From there, if the weather is favorable, you may catch a glimpse of the summit. Alternatively, if you wish to view this magnificent peak from the air, you can purchase a ticket for a Himalayan sightseeing flight departing from Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. For professional climbers, conquering Everest is a challenge that requires careful consideration and thorough preparation. It is an extreme endeavor, with hundreds of climbers having paid the ultimate price for their ambition. Statistically, the safest year for Everest ascents was 1993, when 129 people reached the summit and 8 perished, a success-to-fatality ratio of 16.1. The deadliest year on Everest was 1996, when 15 people lost their lives. Recently, the Nepalese government announced that it is considering a law to prohibit elderly and very young or inexperienced climbers from attempting the summit to ensure the safety of tourists. This proposal arises from a series of avalanche accidents and a historic earthquake in Nepal that resulted in numerous fatalities. The jumping spider delicacy. It's hard to believe that in temperatures plummeting well below freezing, a creature can survive the harshness of nature. We're talking about the jumping spider, a tiny insect measuring just over 1 centimeter long and covered in dense fur. As its name suggests, it has the remarkable ability to move by jumping from one spot to another at altitudes around 6,700 meters above sea level. In the extreme conditions of Everest, few plant and animal species can thrive. Therefore, to survive, the jumping spider must seek out its own food. This may include harmless insects that are unfortunate enough to be swept up by the strong winds of the Himalayas, or occasionally, lost migratory ducks that fall during their journey to escape the cold. Regardless, the jumping spider truly deserves recognition as a unique resident capable of living at the highest point on Earth, like the summit of Everest. Everest is not the tallest mountain in the world. While Everest is the highest peak on Earth when measured from sea level, Mauna Kea, an inactive volcano in Hawaii, holds the record for the tallest mountain in the world. Everest may be taller above sea level, but that doesn't mean it is the highest mountain overall. Mauna Kea reaches an elevation of 4,005 meters above sea level, but its base extends about 6,000 meters below the ocean surface. This brings its total height to approximately 10,200 meters, making it the tallest mountain in the world when measured from base to summit. This might come as a surprise, but it's a fact that we sometimes hesitate to accept. A 450 million year history. While everyone knows that the Himalayas were formed around 60 million years ago, the history of Mount Everest dates back even further. The limestone and sandstone at the summit were once part of sediment layers beneath the ocean 450 million years ago. Over time, the oceanic crust was pushed upward at a rate of 11 centimeters per year, ultimately reaching its current position. The rocks at the top of Everest contain numerous fossils of marine life that once existed in the ocean. Notably, explorer Noel Odell discovered the first fossil on Everest in 1924, proving that the mountain was once submerged beneath sea level. However, it wasn't until 1956 that these fossils were brought back by a Swiss climber. Everest, the pinnacle of conquest. Despite its extreme harshness, this snow-covered mountain in the majestic Himalayas continues to attract visitors from all over the world. Standing before Everest not only offers a breathtaking view, but also evokes a profound sense of conquering nature and overcoming personal limits. Since the first successful ascent of the goddess mother of the universe in 1953, Everest has remained a coveted goal for professional climbers. Each year, hundreds of climbers register to tackle the summit in Nepal alone. Climbing Everest requires not only technical skills, physical fitness, and perseverance, but it is also an endeavor that is not accessible to the financially disadvantaged. In Nepal, climbers must obtain a government permit after paying a significant fee, which was previously $25,000 per person, but dropped to $12,000 at the beginning of 2014. This fee covers the cost of hiring Sherpas, a local ethnic group skilled in mountaineering, and yaks to carry supplies. To conquer this towering peak, one must be exceptionally well off. In simple terms, you need to be wealthy to take on this challenge. Current situation of congestion on Mount Everest. Despite the high cost of climbing Mount Everest, which can reach thousands of dollars, more and more people are attempting to conquer it. In 2012, German climber Ralf Dujmovitz captured a photo showing hundreds of climbers waiting in line to reach the summit. Ralf decided to turn back due to bad weather and the long wait time. On May 19, 2012, the number of climbers was so high that they had to wait 2 hours to reach the top. In half a day, 234 people reached the summit, but unfortunately, 4 lost their lives. Nepalese experts had to add more ropes to alleviate the congestion and even discuss the possibility of installing permanent ladders there. First measurement of Mount Everest. According to the Department of Geology at the University of Montana, Mount Everest was first measured in 1856. At that time, A comprehensive survey of British India designated it as Peak 15, with an elevation of 8,840 meters. However, the survey faced challenges because Nepal did not allow surveyors to enter the country. The currently recognized height is due to a joint survey conducted by Nepal and China in November 2021, although technically, Everest's height is changing. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the mountain is gradually rising due to tectonic activity and rising sea levels. In 1865, British General Andrew Waugh in India proposed naming the mountain after his predecessor, George Everest. For centuries, the Tibetan people have referred to this mountain as Chomolungma, meaning Goddess Mother. But Waugh was unaware of this because Nepal and Tibet were closed to outsiders. Mount Everest has always attracted seasoned climbers and some amateur climbers from around the world. They often rely on local Sherpas as guides, as the Sherpa people are a Tibetan ethnic minority known for their knowledge of the Himalayas and climbing skills. Climbing more than 350 meters from base camp to the summit in an oxygen-thin environment is no easy feat. Altitude sickness, weather, wind, and, in rare cases, altitude-related mental disorders present significant obstacles to conquering this mountain. Veteran climber Alan Arnett once said, "It's like holding your breath while climbing a staircase, not just any staircase, but one like the stairs in the Empire State Building." Statistics show that more than 6,000 people have reached the summit of Everest, and over 300 have died while attempting to climb it. Among those who have succeeded, up to 80% have done so since the year 2000. Sleeping Beauty, a 2,000-year-old discovery in Ethiopia. Amid the millennia-old mysteries of history, the ancient city of Aksum in Ethiopia has unveiled a captivating new chapter with the discovery of a 2,000-year-old tomb of a woman known as Sleeping Beauty. Archaeologists uncovered a treasure trove of jewelry and intricate artifacts from the 1st and 2nd centuries, revealing the magnificent and enigmatic life she led. The tomb contained necklaces made from thousands of colorful beads, Roman glass beads, and a stunning glass perfume vial. These items not only showcase aesthetic beauty, but also reflect the refined tastes of ancient Aksumite society. The woman's hand, still adorned with a sparkling bronze ring, was found next to a large bronze mirror, indicating she was once a beautiful and cherished woman. Former British Museum curator Louise Schofield noted that this woman was buried alongside a trove of bronze treasures and unique cosmetic items, such as kohl for eyeliner. This further supports the hypothesis that she may have been a princess of noble birth in Aksumite society. Her remains were surrounded by high-quality beads, and her attire was embellished with decorative stones, all testifying to the noble status and luxury she possessed. Additionally, archaeologists discovered 2 intact drinking cups, along with a specially designed cup meant to hold the final tear of the deceased. This finding not only evokes the respect that the living had for the dead, but also raises questions about the customs and practices of ancient peoples. A clay jar may have contained food or drink for her before entering the afterlife, opening avenues for research into the dietary habits and lifestyles of the Aksumite civilization. Aksum was not just a city, it was a great trading power, with trade routes connecting the Nile River to the Red Sea. By the 1st century, this kingdom dominated much of Ethiopia and extended its influence to Arabia. The prosperity and power of Aksum made it one of the 4 greatest kingdoms of the ancient world, alongside Rome, China, and Persia. The city is also known as the homeland of the legendary Queen Sheba, a symbol of power and beauty. Researchers continue to explore, hoping to uncover the cause of death and more details about the life of this mysterious woman, thereby gaining deeper insights into the great Aksumite civilization and providing future generations with profound knowledge about discoveries in ancient history. Remains of legless children, found in ancient Peruvian temple. In a shocking discovery at the Chotuna Chornancap archaeological site in the Lambayeque region of Peru, a team of archaeologists led by researcher Carlos Wester La Torre uncovered more than 13 sets of remains dating back to the 15th and 16th centuries. Particularly haunting is the fact that among the skeletons found in shallow graves, buried in pairs at various locations around the ancient temple, 2 of the children interred to the west showed clear signs of brutality, with their legs having been severed. This not only raises questions about their tragic fate, but also unveils a history of the mysterious religious rituals practiced by the Chimu people. According to archaeologists, the loss of limbs may be understood as a form of sacrifice, reflecting their reverence and loyalty to the deities. Additionally, the remains of adults were also discovered, buried in narrow pits, providing a comprehensive picture of the beliefs and cultural practices of this civilization. Each grave and each set of remains tells a story, reflecting the values, fears, and beliefs of a once thriving culture. Among the remains, one notable skeleton belonged to a man buried with two clay vessels adorned with unique carvings. One vessel depicted a kokero, or coca leaf chewer, while the other illustrated a smiling man. Furthermore, another discovery at the burial site revealed the tomb of a Chornen-capped nun, a powerful figure in Lambayeque culture. This nun was buried alongside 8 others, along with exquisite offerings and a sparkling bronze mask. The gold jewelry and scepter adorned with images of the Lambayeque deity not only signify wealth, but also indicate her high status in society. This discovery is not merely an archaeological find. It is a journey back to a time when rituals honoring the gods intertwined with daily life. The remains we uncover serve as evidence of sacrifice and as a legacy of a magnificent civilization, a reminder of the complexities of belief and culture throughout human history. Decapitated remains of a mother and child, dressed in gold-trimmed fur. On September 26th, in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, Russian archaeologists discovered a peculiar grave in the Taldur II burial site of the ancient Pazyryk civilization, dating back approximately 2,500 years. The grave contained the remains of a woman and a child, both dressed in gold-trimmed fur coats. Strangely, neither of them had heads. The archaeological team found the skulls of both mother and child some distance away from their bodies. They are trying to determine whether this practice was an ancient custom of the Siberians or if there is another explanation. Traces of animal fur garments were still present, indicating that the deceased were dressed warmly, likely in the belief that they could withstand the cold of the Siberian mountains as they departed for the afterlife. The grave also contained 2 small bronze mirrors and several pieces of pottery, further suggesting the burial dates back about 2,500 years. The researchers also unearthed some intact gold leaf, which may have adorned the clothing of the mother and child. Decapitation in burial practices was characteristic of this period. However, this grave is entirely different from other Pazyryk burial sites previously studied. According to Dr. Nikita Konstantinov from Gorno-Altaysk University, the practice of decapitation has its origins in wartime. Victorious factions often severed the heads of defeated enemies to display their power, meaning skulls were never buried with their bodies. However, the case of the newly discovered mother and child remains puzzling, as archaeologists had never encountered a decapitated child's grave before. Additionally, the careful burial, along with the beautiful artifacts and clothing, suggests they were not enemies of the tribe. The research team proposed that the grave may have been looted, and the robbers severed the heads to prevent the deceased from rising or haunting them. However, the skeletons showed no signs of disturbance, and there were no signs of forced entry. Therefore, the scientists stated they cannot explain this discovery, as there are no similar cases recorded. Nonetheless, this finding is still highly significant and has left the archaeological community shocked and perplexed. 97. 5,000-year-old skeletons, discovered in a 20-square-meter house. Recently, archaeologists uncovered 97 skeletons in a small 20-square-meter house in an ancient village in northern China. Research indicates that these remains date back approximately 5,000 years and include children, teenagers, and the elderly, all of whom were ancient inhabitants of the village. Experts believe this may be the result of a major epidemic, possibly an ancient plague. The bodies of those who died from the illness were likely placed in this house to prevent the disease from spreading to others. Within the house, the northern skeletons remain intact, while the southern area contains only skulls, with limb bones stacked in 2 or 3 layers, forming a chaotic pile. In one corner of the house, there are signs of burning, suggesting that fire and falling wooden beams may have distorted and scattered the skeletons found outside. The village is located within the Haman Mangha Archaeological Site, the largest and best-preserved site discovered to date in China. Within this site, archaeologists have also found numerous agricultural tools, ceramics, and hunting weapons, providing deeper insights into the lives and customs of prehistoric people. Thousands of 3,000-year-old gold threads discovered in Denmark. Amid the lush green fields of central Denmark, an archaeological discovery has stirred excitement in the research community as nearly 2,000 spiral-shaped gold threads dating from around 700 to 900 BCE were found in the Boeslunde area. Two experts from the National Museum of Denmark and the Vestjylland Museum were astonished when they first laid eyes on these unique artifacts, believing they might be remnants of a sacred ritual. Each gold thread is about 3 centimeters long, made from thinly hammered gold, creating a stunning spiral shape. Mr. Call, one of the archaeologists, speculated that these threads may have been attached to tassels on a hat or canopy, or even used for hairstyling or embroidery on the attire of a priest. Initially, only a few gold threads were found, but subsequent excavations uncovered an additional 200 to 300 samples, revealing a much larger picture. Many threads were buried together in a large bundle inside a wooden box lined with animal fur, while smaller packages containing 3 or 4 artifacts were found nearby. This box may have been used to hold a gold headdress, which would not be surprising given Boeslunde's reputation for numerous valuable gold discoveries in northern Europe. Moreover, this region is not just home to these gold threads. Previously, many other artifacts have been discovered, such as a large wedding ring used in oaths and solemn ceremonies. In an excavation in 1800, a farmer uncovered 6 gold vessels weighing 1 kilo, located just about 500 meters from where the ring was found. This wealth not only signifies material abundance, but also reflects the spiritual devotion of the local inhabitants. Call and expert Christensen suggest that Boeslunde was once a sacred land where ancient people performed ritual ceremonies and offered gold to the gods. The image of a priest wearing a ring and the glimmering gold threads in the sunlight symbolize reverence and serve as evidence of their belief in the sun as a divine entity. Gold, with its shimmering color and reflective light, was viewed as a manifestation of the sun and immortality. This is why the priest would offer their wealth to the sun. Archaeologists believe that Boeslunde still harbors many treasures from prehistoric times. With dedication and anticipation, they continue to use metal detectors to uncover more mysteries waiting to be revealed beneath the earth, making this area an attractive destination for those passionate about archaeology and ancient history. Giant human bones excavated. In the spring of 1983, an excavation at a graveyard near the town of Zest in Westphalia, Germany, unveiled a mysterious chapter in the history of ancient giants. Archaeologists discovered around 2,000 skeletons, with an average height of up to 2.3 meters. Notably, one of the skeletons belonged to a military commander, towering at an impressive 3 meters, leaving the archaeological community astonished and raising many questions about the lives and culture of these individuals. However, the findings did not stop there. In 1978, in Flanders, Belgium, 2 skeletons dating back 30,000 years were also uncovered. One skeleton was that of a female standing 2.8 meters tall, while the other was a male measuring 2.5 meters. In Egypt, the mummy of Pharaoh Ramses II, displayed in the National Museum in Cairo, also reaches a height of 3 meters, presenting an impressive image of a great leader. Turning south in the 1970s in Central Africa, an ancient burial site containing up to 70 male skeletons with an average height of 2.85 meters was discovered, indicating that these giants existed not only in Europe and North America. In the Americas, the findings were equally surprising. In 1895, at mining sites in California, archaeologists found an ancient male corpse standing 2.4 meters tall, while the following year, a female skeleton measuring 2.5 meters was also discovered. Excavations continued to shake the archaeological field when, in 1876 and 1912, 10 skeletons reaching heights of 2.6 meters were discovered in Carolina and Wisconsin, respectively. In 1930, in northern Mexico, hundreds of graves were found containing individuals as tall as 2.6 meters, a remarkable height considering that people of that era typically measured around 1.6 meters. In 1982, a team of archaeologists from the former Soviet Union discovered a female skeleton measuring 2.7 meters, dating back approximately 3,000 years. This skeleton is currently displayed in a museum where it is carefully preserved and attracts significant interest from visitors. All these discoveries not only serve as evidence for the existence of giants in the past, but also raise intriguing questions about their lifestyle, culture, and the reasons behind their remarkable height. Were they the great giants of ancient times, or are they merely rare phenomena in the course of human history? The mysteries surrounding these skeletons continue to spark curiosity and exploration among researchers. Could there be scientific or cultural reasons that explain the presence of these giants? Their story is still waiting to be written, as an essential part of the grand narrative of humanity. The remains of an English king, found beneath a parking lot. Scientists at the Archaeology Department of the University of Leicester in England have uncovered a surprising chapter in history with the discovery of King Richard III's burial site. The last king of the House of York, often portrayed negatively in Shakespeare's works, was buried in an unusual and disrespectful manner, starkly contrasting with the solemn ceremonies typical of royal funerals. Richard III's remains were found in August 2012 beneath a parking lot of the Leicester City Council, precisely where he was defeated in the Battle of Bosworth 500 years earlier. After 12 weeks of DNA testing, scientists confirmed that these were indeed the remains of the notorious king, historically depicted as a villainous and tragic figure. Notably, the manner of his burial has prompted many to reconsider how he has been perceived in the past. During the excavation, archaeologists discovered Richard III's skeleton in a grave shaped like a shoebox, with his body in a somewhat crushed position. His hands were bound, indicating that those who buried him did not arrange his body neatly. His head was placed at an angle within the grave, without any signs of burial cloth or a coffin, further highlighting the lack of respect afforded to a king. This discovery seems to align with ancient accounts and Shakespeare's portrayal of Richard III as a hunchbacked, deformed, and cruel king. The contradictions in his burial may reflect the contempt he faced from contemporaries, as well as the political forces that manipulated his image after his death. Currently, researchers at the University of Leicester are compiling materials to write a comprehensive book about the short yet tumultuous life of King Richard III, who ruled England for just 2 years. The book promises to offer deeper insights into this controversial historical figure and help us better understand the historical context of his era. 32,400-year-old rhino mummy, found with skin and fur intact. On September 23, 2024, a remarkable discovery was made near the Terek River in the Sakha Republic, Russia, where scientists uncovered the perfectly preserved mummy of a woolly rhinoceros dating back 32,400 years. Under the leadership of Gennady Boskorov from the Institute of Precious Metals and Diamonds at the Russian Academy of Sciences, the research team conducted detailed analyses of this unique specimen, providing profound insights into Earth's distant past. This rhinoceros, named the Abiesky rhino, was exceptionally well preserved due to the permafrost conditions that kept its soft tissues, skin, and fur intact. This preservation allowed researchers to perform anatomical analyses with unprecedented detail, revealing a vivid picture of a creature that once dominated the northern Asian landscape. The woolly rhinoceros, scientifically known as Coelodonta antiquitatis, coexisted with woolly mammoths during the Ice Age and was the second largest land animal of that time, following the woolly mammoth. One of the most intriguing findings from the research was the age of the rhino at the time of death. It was only about 4.5 years old. Its short, light-colored fur indicates that it was a very young individual, existing during the late Carginian phase of the late Pleistocene. A standout discovery was the presence of a lipoma on the rhino's back, a condition never before documented in this species. This fat deposit, similar to those found in woolly mammoths, may have served a role in insulation or energy storage, suggesting similarities in the adaptations of large animals to the harsh Ice Age environment. Additionally, an analysis of the rhino's fur revealed traces of an extinct parasite, reminding researchers of its ancient habitat. Woolly rhinoceroses once roamed the northern regions of Eurasia, particularly Siberia, for millions of years until they became extinct about 10,000 years ago. They often traveled alongside woolly mammoths, wolves, and cave lions. Despite their abundance in the past, intact specimens are exceedingly rare, with only 6 found in the Sakha Republic since the late 18th century. As global temperatures rise, many ancient organisms are emerging as the permafrost melts. However, exposure to the external environment can lead to the rapid degradation of these precious specimens. Thus, the discovery of the Abiesky rhino not only sheds light on the life of an extinct species, but also serves as a reminder of the invaluable natural heritage that is threatened in the current context of climate change. Aircraft wreckage and remains on the Aletsch Glacier. Switzerland, renowned for its stunning natural beauty with snow-capped mountains and the largest glacier in Europe, the Aletsch Glacier, has long been a destination attracting tourists with its majestic landscapes. However, this place is also witness to a tragic story about a plane crash that occurred more than 50 years ago. Covering an area of over 120 square kilometers, Aletsch has long been a site for climate change research, with less snowfall in winter and abnormally high temperatures in summer. These phenomena have caused the glacier to melt, leading to serious environmental consequences and the discovery of wreckage from a missing aircraft. It is known that on a summer day in 1968, a Piper Cherokee aircraft, registered as HBOYL, crashed near the Chestgen Glacier. After more than half a century, fragments of the plane and human bones have been discovered on this glacier. This is the result of glacier melting due to climate change, causing long-lost items to resurface unexpectedly and mysteriously. Notably, the limited technology for search and rescue at that time made it impossible to locate the wreckage. Today, significant climate change has provided a new opportunity for investigators to uncover the identity of the accident in ways previously unimaginable. The story of this crash is not just a historical event in aviation. It also serves as a living testament to the power of nature and the ongoing environmental changes. It reminds us of the importance of environmental protection and scientific research to better understand the impacts of climate change on the geography and history of our planet. The unfortunate passengers on a Flight 56 years ago. On the shores of Folsom Lake in California, known for its stunning landscapes, a mysterious story from the past has been unexpectedly and poignantly uncovered. During an equipment inspection on a hot day, staff from Seafloor Systems, specializing in underwater surveying and mapping, discovered an unusual object on the lake's bottom. Jeff Riley, an environmental technician at the company, was the first to see survey images that showed a cluster of wreckage with clear signs of an aircraft. The object is located about 50 meters deep, covered by a thick layer of mud that has kept it hidden from the outside world for 56 years. A remote camera was then deployed to capture detailed images of the tail and propeller of the aircraft, suggesting that this could be the remnants of a missing plane from 1965. However, Seafloor Systems could not determine specific identification information about this aircraft, although the traces closely matched the story of a plane crash many years ago. It is known that in 1965, a plane full of lives crashed into Folsom Lake after a terrible collision with another aircraft at an altitude of nearly 3,000 feet. On board were pilot Ford Marshall, brother of pilot James Marshall, along with Helen Gotcher and Glenn Emick, a local high school football player. Although the aircraft was damaged, it was still able to fly and land safely, leaving part of it submerged deep in the lake. For decades, the disappearance of this plane has been a mystery for the community and the families of those on board. All efforts by authorities in 2014 to locate the missing aircraft were unsuccessful, until recent inspections of Folsom Lake during a drought finally revealed traces of it. However, the question of whether this is indeed the plane that went missing 56 years ago remains a significant mystery for scientists. Nevertheless, this discovery has provided answers and closure for those affected, affirming that all the mysteries on this planet can be unraveled with the aid of modern technology and research. The plane missing for 80 years in the Himalayas. An emotional story of search and discovery has emerged from the Himalayas, where a cargo plane has finally been found nearly 80 years after it disappeared, carrying the fates of 13 people on that fateful flight in early 1945. The aircraft, which took off from Kunming, China, was en route to Arunachal Pradesh, a region straddling the territories of India and China. Bad weather forced it into treacherous mountainous terrain, and from that point on, there were no traces of the plane or its passengers. However, Clayton Kuehls, an American explorer, became a key figure in this search. He was hired by the relatives of one of the missing passengers. His expedition traversed hundreds of miles of forest, enduring harsh conditions for months, and they lost 3 local guides who perished from the cold while setting up camp in the snowy region. Finally, in December 2021, they discovered the plane covered in snow and confirmed that it was indeed the long-lost aircraft, identifiable by its tail number. Unfortunately, no remains of any bodies were found inside, only remnants of a tragic event that had occurred. Bill Scherer, who hired Qules and lives in New York, shared his emotions, saying, "I am very happy to know that it has been found. This is a heartbreaking story, but it also brings some joy. I grew up without a father. My mother had to live with the sorrow and knew nothing about her husband's death. She faced many difficulties raising me. I was just 13 months old at the time." It is also known that the disappearance of hundreds of American military aircraft during World War II in the regions of India, China, and Myanmar has occurred. Despite various search efforts and hypotheses, the exact causes of these disappearances remain an unsolvable mystery to this day, continuing to be a significant enigma for humanity. 217 passengers on Flight 990 in 1999. You might not believe it, but Halloween 1999 became an unforgettable tragedy in aviation history when Egypt Air Flight 990, en route from Los Angeles to Cairo, suddenly vanished and plunged into the Atlantic Ocean. All 217 people on board, including passengers and crew, perished in this disaster. Following the incident, the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority began an investigation. However, due to resource limitations and the event occurring in international waters, they required assistance from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB. Experts from the NTSB quickly joined the investigation, and after an initial examination, they made preliminary determinations about the cause of the crash. The NTSB hypothesized that the co-pilot had deliberately caused the aircraft to dive into the ocean. However, they could not pinpoint the exact cause or the specific reason for this action. Egypt's response was markedly different. They attributed the accident to a technical failure on the aircraft. At that time, the differing viewpoints between the two parties complicated the situation further. While U.S. officials suspected some personal factor was involved, Egypt chose to frame the issue as a technical problem. Public opinion and experts expressed concerns and dissatisfaction with both theories. Meanwhile, the recording of the captain's final moments during the flight became a focal point in the investigation. His words, "What's happening? What's happening? You turned off the engine, right?" And the co-pilot's response, "I believe in God," raised many questions about what really occurred on that ill-fated flight. Was this an accidental crash, or was there intent behind it? This remains an open question without a definitive answer. Despite the years that have passed, the crash of Flight 990 continues to be a significant mystery in the history of global aviation, and it's terrifying to think that it could have been a deliberate act. So, for those of you who often speak negatively, don't be foolish enough to fly again. You might bring misfortune upon yourself and others. World War II fighter aircraft. A legendary story of the Kitty Hawk P-40 fighter plane, an icon of World War II, has been revived after lying dormant for 70 years in the Sahara Desert in Egypt. This aircraft has been identified as belonging to the Royal Air Force, piloted by 24-year-old Dennis Copping. In 1942, Copping's Kitty Hawk encountered trouble, and he attempted to land safely. After the plane was damaged, Copping took off in search of another base but never returned. Rumors suggest that he survived and used the remnants of the aircraft as shelter, but he later went missing in the desert while trying to leave the crash site. To this day, Copping's plane remains at the site in nearly intact condition. However, no traces of the pilot's body have been found near the aircraft. Researchers believe his remains may have decayed and could be anywhere within a 30-kilometer radius of the plane. Due to concerns about protecting the site and preventing interference from local residents, historians have urged the British government to intervene and preserve the aircraft's location. They worry that locals might collect pieces or equipment from the Kitty Hawk as souvenirs or sell the valuable metal components. You may not know, but preserving this aircraft is not only of historical value. It also serves as a tribute to the soldiers who sacrificed their lives during World War II. This brings hope that conservation efforts will keep the story and memory of Dennis Copping and the Kitty Hawk P-40 alive in people's hearts. The final resting place of flight, MH370. One of the greatest mysteries in aviation may soon be solved. as researchers have revealed a suspected location for the final resting place of Flight MH370. The Malaysia Airlines plane disappeared approximately 38 minutes after taking off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia, en route to Beijing, China on March 8, 2014. Despite extensive searches by various governments and private companies, the MH370 aircraft has never been found, and the fate of the 237 passengers remains unknown. Recently, a new 229-page report has been released, claiming to contain crucial clues about the last known position of MH370. According to the report, most of the aircraft's wreckage is likely located about 1,560 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. This new discovery is the result of using a weak signal radio wave transmission system called WSPR by researchers Richard Godfrey, Dr. Hannes Coetzee, and Professor Simon Maskell. The researchers stated, "This technology has been developed over the past 3 years, and the result is new, reliable evidence. It aligns with analyses from Boeing and the University of Western Australia regarding the drift of debris recovered around the Indian Ocean. Through this, the experts were able to reconstruct the flight path using data from Boeing, and drift analysis suggests that this is the final resting place of Flight MH370. The report also indicates that the aircraft exhibited a mysterious zigzag flight pattern just before the crash. Consequently, the newly estimated final location of the missing Flight MH370 is believed to be at a depth of 4,000 meters and slightly north of what other researchers and investigators have estimated." Aviation expert Jeff Thomas believes the report holds a very high level of reliability. It has been conducted over 4 years and has been reviewed multiple times. Therefore, they are confident they have identified the position of this aircraft. Missing plane reappears intact in New Guinea after 45 years. In 1985, a twin-engine passenger plane that had been missing for nearly half a century was discovered in a swamp in the jungles of New Guinea. What puzzled everyone was that the aircraft appeared as new as it did when it first went missing, showing no signs of age or deformation. This gleaming silver plane had vanished 45 years earlier while on a flight from Manila, Philippines to Mindanao Island. A team of Indonesian military aviation experts was dispatched to the site. When the investigators first laid eyes on the aircraft, they could hardly believe their eyes. The exterior looked pristine, with the fuselage showing no signs of wear. Investigators assumed the door would be rusty and difficult to open, but to their surprise, the handle turned easily with no creaking or cracking sounds. It opened smoothly. Inside the cabin, there were no signs of life, either living or deceased. However, paper cups, cigarette butts, and newspapers from 1937 remained fresh, as if someone had just been sitting in the plane. The coffee pot still contained hot coffee, and its aroma had not faded. The aircraft's battery was fully charged. Just turning the switch lit up the interior lights. The fuel tanks were nearly full. All these details sent chills down the investigators' spines. They were left wondering whether the appearance of this plane was a coincidence or something deliberate. Was it orchestrated by human hands? To this day, it remains a great mystery. The mysterious missing pilots in the desert. Around the world, there are many places filled with mysteries where anyone who accidentally or intentionally sets foot seems to be swallowed up. Some strange disappearances have been recorded, including cases of pilots getting lost in remote desert areas and vanishing, leaving their planes intact. A particularly odd case of disappearance in the aviation field was documented in Charles Fort's classic book, Wild Talents, occurring in 1924. On July 24th of that year, 2 pilots from the Royal Air Force, William Conway Day and Douglas Ramsey Stewart, were conducting a routine reconnaissance flight from an airbase in Iraq. At that time, the weather conditions were perfect, their aircraft was functioning well, and both were experienced pilots. Therefore, their 3-hour mission was expected to go smoothly. However, things took a different turn. The 2 pilots did not return as planned. A day passed with no news of them, prompting immediate search efforts in the surrounding desert. After several hours of searching, the rescue team was astonished to find the missing aircraft in the desolate desert, but there were no signs of the 2 pilots. Initially, it was thought that the plane might have run out of fuel or been attacked and forced to land there, but upon closer inspection, there was still plenty of fuel in the tanks, and the aircraft showed no damage, either inside or out. The situation became even more mysterious when it was discovered that all of the pilots' belongings and their reserve water were intact. This was puzzling, as it raised the question of why they ventured into the arid desert without any water. There was also a bloodstain found in the cockpit, but its origin remained unclear. Even stranger were the footprints of the two missing men found in the sand around the plane, leading into the desert and then suddenly vanishing about 40 meters away. A similarly bizarre case occurred in 1951 in Arizona, USA. In July of that year, 26-year-old nurse June Marijani Walker and her boyfriend, Klaus W. Martens, a 28-year-old World War II veteran and truck salesman, rented a two-seat Cessna 140 from AmVet's flight training to attend a trade meeting in Blythe, about 320 kilometers away. Martens was a licensed pilot with considerable experience and took off from East Los Angeles Airport in California under good weather conditions. However, they never arrived in Blythe. Authorities soon uncovered the strange detail that Martens did not file a flight plan before takeoff, forcing rescue teams to search for them along estimated flight paths. After weeks of unsuccessful searching, on August 1st, a forest ranger in Arizona stumbled upon the missing plane outside the range of the barren desert, about 80 kilometers southeast of Yuma, Arizona, and more than 160 kilometers from the couple's intended destination. Remarkably, the plane was undamaged. It seemed the aircraft had intentionally landed there in operational condition, with plenty of fuel and the engine still in good working order. Notably, the radio transceiver was functioning perfectly as well. Inside and around the plane, there were many strange details. A handwritten note was found in the cockpit stating they were walking westward, but no explanation was provided. Outside, there was an arrow stuck in the scorching sand pointing west. It was clear that both had walked out, leaving behind their compass and personal belongings. Two sets of footprints led from the plane into the desert. After about 5 kilometers, the footprints disappeared as if they had just vanished into thin air. Strangely, heading west would lead them to a desolate area. Why did they choose that direction? An exhaustive search of the area yielded no traces of the missing couple. Why did they land a perfectly operational aircraft there, and why didn't they call for help using their functioning radio? What was the point of trekking into barren lands, and why didn't they take a compass or any equipment with them? Was this an accident, a prank, or the work of extraterrestrials? Were they abducted by Bedouins? Were they potential targets for alien abduction? Why were there no footprints or tire tracks leading them away? All remained shrouded in mystery until 1925, a year after pilots William Conway Day and Douglas Ramsey Stewart went missing, when two skeletons were found in the desert and identified through dental records. The website Strange Company proposed a theory regarding this event. Both pilots may have been forced to land due to a sudden sandstorm. Their aircraft may have suffered minor damage, requiring repairs before they could return to base. Some speculate that Day may have sustained minor injuries during the landing, the blood found in the plane, and that as the two set off towards safety, he collapsed from exhaustion. Stewart may have continued on his journey hoping to find help for his injured colleague, but he too succumbed to the scorching desert heat. The failure to locate their remains earlier may have been due to constantly shifting sands, swept away by desert storms. However, this theory only partially addresses the many questions raised. The couple, June Marijani Walker and Klaus W. Martens, have remained missing since 1951. The mystery endures. Dear friends, the world is full of mysteries and wonders. What do you think about these intriguing discoveries by scientists? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to give us a like. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more exciting discoveries. For now, goodbye and see you next time.